hoping that I will just like I'm actually hoping to. This is a bit crazy and probably unpopular. I'm hoping that people will just not feel as inclined to be ridiculous in a game that actually respects their time. But I don't know how successful that's going to be. I probably underestimate how ridiculous people really are. I think if like the reason why, for example, League of Legends is toxic, quote unquote, is actually because League of Legends is just a bad game. It's not because like a disproportionate amount of toxic people flock to the game. And again, toxic as a term is just so useless at this point, in my opinion. It doesn't even really describe anything because you can be labeled toxic for just telling somebody that they should get better at the game. And maybe you don't say that in the most respectful way, but you even just saying GG easy at the end of a game can get you fucking reported these days. And in a way where the reports actually have merit and you might end up getting chat restricted or whatever. This didn't happen to me personally, but I've heard of people getting that, and maybe they were all fluffing it, and that didn't really happen. But Riot has gone on the record saying that they didn't want people typing GG easy, that was a form of toxicity. So I just think that the whole term is useless. But League of Legends itself, as an example of a game where people are always typing shit, always getting angry, always just raging at their keyboards and foaming at their mouths, I think it's like that because it's just a bad game. And the competitive ladder, is not constructed in a way that's actually rewarding and respectful of players' times. I guess they changed some of these elements, but the fact that for the longest time, if you were playing ranked and you were in a promotional series, and maybe this is still the case, your teammates may not have been in a promotional series. So suddenly you as a player who are playing to try to rank up, and maybe this is your third time trying to rank up to the next division, you're in a game that has completely different stakes to the other guy who's like mid-table LP. He's got 50 LP or whatever. He's got plenty to burn before he has to be in danger of actually giving a shit and playing the game properly. And so he decides, well, this game doesn't matter to me, so I'll throw. Like, that's of course going to make you so fucking annoyed at the game. And that encourages toxicity. That's the way that this shit actually happens. That's how people start losing their fucking minds, because it's a team game, but the game doesn't matter the same to all people. So of course you're going to get this problem crop up where, for one, people are just doing things in accordance with how much the game matters to them. And for another, that disparity is going to engender a lot of actual toxicity, of people being very angry and foaming at their mouths. Nothing they can do. It's just ridiculous. Because what are you going to say to the guy? Can you just try harder for me? Like, if you've already lost rapport because you didn't gank the guy, or he threw, a kill or something and you called him out, or whatever the case may have been, it maybe nothing bad happened. Just asking somebody to try more than they were already planning to try is not guaranteed to succeed, even if you do it very respectfully and nicely. So, like, the systems are designed for you to fail and become toxic, yet they had people trying to figure out why their game was causing this much shit. Or really, they would never say that it was causing that. They would say, why are players of our game? Why are they being toxic in our game? Now, I'm not saying League of Legends is the only game where toxicity happens. Far from it. But it does seem like it's a real petri dish for the worst kinds of toxicity. The actual toxicity of games where people are just raging for the specific purpose of trying to make you feel bad about yourself. And they're lashing out in that way, in my opinion, in large part due to the fact that the competitive ladder is just a shit show and always has been designed against players' interests, against players playing as a team, against the interest of actual team cohesion. It's been designed. The fact that we have games of those games, like matches of those games, where people are playing as a team, that's the exception. That's crazy. That's like looking at the number of cars that people drive and saying, holy shit, I can't believe there are not more wrecks. That's the same thing that I think when I look at the League of Legends ladder. Like, how are there so many reasonable, tolerable games? How are there so many people who haven't already succumbed to it? It's crazy. It doesn't surprise me in the slightest that there's a lot of people who have gone down that route. I'll say that much. Yeah. So the game design certainly influences it. People in the chat talking about stuns and just being able to disallowed to play the game at all. Like, that is ridiculous. And that's also like, remember that the root of them continuing to release champions instead of assessing the design flaws of their game currently and all of the champions that are currently in it is money. It's the additional skins that they're going to be able to make, the fact that they're going to release these champions that are generally busted for 2 weeks so that everybody comes in and starts buying the champion with RP or whatever they're called. I think they have essences or something because the Haka invaded them in StarCraft 2 Void. But yeah, people are never going to take responsibility regardless of the game state, because of the fact that there is a diffusion of responsibility with your teammates doing something that you didn't agree with because you guys aren't on the same page. And I think a large part of that is due to the whole ranked situation where when you're playing you're playing to win. Not everybody, first of all, who's queuing ranked is actually playing to win. And that's their own fault. And those people should actually just be queuing normals. It's like they don't really want to put in all the effort. So that part is personal responsibility. You are going to have a degree of that. That's always going to fuck with people. Some people just want to troll. Some people, maybe they don't want to troll, but they're not really opposed to it if it comes down to it. And, if you give them enough of an excuse, which is so subjective that it's impossible to really know. Now, that being said, even if that's the case, like there's that element of personal responsibility that some people don't take and don't rise to the occasion, there is the case to be made that when you're queuing in and you're all trying to win a game of ranked League of Legends, again, it goes back to what my earlier point was, that you're not trying to the same degrees, because one guy's in his promotional series to the next entire ranking, what do they call it, division, like going from silver to gold or something. Somebody else is maybe in game 2 of their promo series and they won the previous one. They could take their foot off the gas a little bit and coast, and it doesn't really matter as much if they lose because they've got another game that they can play. And that's just to move up from like silver 3 to 4 or whatever, or I guess it would be the other way around. And then 3 other people in the game aren't even in promos. They're just grinding up for regular LP. Like, okay, you've sorted people into a game state where they just have completely different interests and different things motivating them. Theoretically, they would all want to win, but they don't all want to win to the same degree. I always found it hilarious that Riot didn't find some way to fix this, because it's not unfixable. It's just they don't want to put in the effort, apparently.